Hello and welcome to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
I'm your co-host, Pastor Wayne Moore.
Always a pleasure to host with you.
Good to be with you, my brother.
Likewise. It's
Yes.
going to be a great show today.
It is. I mean, one of my great issues that I'd like to talk about, and when I can get people to talk about it and be truthful about it, that's homelessness.
Yeah.
We have a lot of homeless in Indianapolis that the hierarchy of Indianapolis does not recognize.
And we've got some great folks who are making a tremendous impact.
Effort. Yes. We have Mr. Brian Walls here today, who's boots on the ground and making some things happen all over the city, especially where there's homeless people.
He's going to be joining us here in a little bit, but first we want to thank our sponsors, Lee Castle and Crawley.
Yes, and we want to take Fervent Care Christian Academy for the work that they do in that on the Far East Side community to make sure young people have a safe haven for learning and knowing who Jesus Christ is.
Yeah, give them a call at 317-898-2751 for more information. Also, we appreciate you all joining us each week, and we would encourage you to go to our YouTube channel, WHMB TV 40, subscribe so you can watch this show when it's over and other shows that you might have missed.
Yeah, we have a conglomerate of shows on YouTube, but like us on Facebook as well. Facebook is a great outlet for communications and connections, and we hope you'll look at Real People, Real Voices on Facebook.
Yeah, we're winding down on just wearing our shirts.
Yeah,
We've had lots of different shirts.
Yeah, we got a lot, but this is our last time this summer for short sleeve, so we'll be back at the conservative look, excuse me. So, yeah.
So stay tuned, we'll be back after this. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. I want to get right to our guests. I want to welcome to the show Brian Walls.
Thank you.
Glad to have you.
Glad to be here.
Tearing any walls down lately?
We're trying.
Tell us about what's going on.
Well, Tear on the Walls Ministries has been working in the city for almost 20 years. We started out as a homeless street outreach program, hitting the streets, alleys, overpasses, just reaching out to those who aren't staying in a shelter, the homeless, and providing them with basic resources that they need, like water, blankets, socks, and of course we're faith-based, so Bibles, prayer, and Bible studies, and then trying to get them to come in for programs and other resources, either that we might be able to provide or that one of our partners might be able to provide.
Yeah, that's a great work that you all are doing. And off air, we were just talking about some of the places that you all find homeless when they're not coming to you. You guys go out and find people and help them. And a lot of times people are thinking, well, the people who live in tent cities or people who live under the bridges, but there are homeless all over town.
There are. So we send out teams at least 3 days a week. So today I lead a luncheon Bible study, and so I normally go out and pick up people that might be interested in coming to the lunch and the Bible study, give them a ride, they come in, and if we can, we'll do some case management, help get them plugged into resources and stuff while they're there. And then Wednesdays, we're part of the professional blended street outreach team. That's a coalition of professionals that work in the city with homeless, and maybe the VA, Outreach Inc., Wheeler Mission, Horizon House, and I'm one of the supervisors for that and lead the Wednesday morning team. And then on Saturday nights, we have groups of volunteers from churches. Sometimes youth groups, but we have a handful that are there every week, and then we have groups that come in periodically, and they help provide. Not only do they help do street outreach, but normally those groups help provide the socks and the bottled water and the blankets and things like that. Help us with some of those resources we need to help our friends.
So So you run this particular ministry that you do for the homeless based on donations?
Yeah, yes.
Based on donations?
No grants at this time, nothing to speak of that way. Definitely no government money, but all pretty much 99.9% are on in-kind donations from churches and individuals. Mostly are volunteers. They come out, they fall in love with what we do, they fall in love with the people we serve, and then they want to share the extra that God's blessed them with.
Talk about the big project that you all are working on. You want to get the city involved that would help to provide some resources for folks who live in the city with regard to the homeless.
Yeah, so we've been working in the near northwest side for about 12 years now, and we've been doing a lot of Christian community development in that neighborhood. So we're working with after-school programs and summer camps and VBS with youth, in addition to community gardens, urban farming, and remodeling abandoned buildings to use for housing for the homeless. And then they work with those other projects, those community gardens, urban farm, as part of a job training program until they can get a job. And we help them with resumes and help them with basic interview skills. And then we'll allow them to rent space off of us in a transitional house until they can get on their own feet. And then what we're wanting to do is we're starting to help individuals and families to own their own homes. And trying to get more church partners to help us to buy up these abandoned, there's about 40% abandonment in that neighborhood, and buy up those abandoned properties like we've been doing for the transitional housing and the urban farming and community garden stuff, but then place those families and individuals in a home that they own. And right alongside the old canal, most people don't even know the canal is in that neighborhood, but that's about 67% of our water actually comes out of that canal in that neighborhood. And we're hoping to put in some low-income apartments, because as we see the city becoming regentrified and people moving back into the city, some of these neighborhoods like ours that are under-resourced, as they develop and build that, then the poor families get displaced. And
Because of gentrification.
Because of gentrification. So
Tell it like it is, Mr.
So
Moore.
yeah, so we want to provide some low-income housing. We're trying to partner with IHCDA and some others to put in some housing that's affordable, and we're also working with some of the powers that be at the city county level to see if we can lock in tax rates too for the people that already own their own home. If you've lived there for so long, that when those taxes go up, hopefully their taxes, and these retired folk, it's about 60% retired folk.
Yeah, I was just curious if I might ask Jackson, the collaboration, you don't have a collaboration with the city of Indianapolis yet.
Well, we actually do work quite a bit with the city in different ways. Through that Coalition for Homeless Intervention and Prevention, the city's kind of involved in that a little bit. And then with like the blueprint in homeless, now they call it something else, a new plan. The city's involved in that a little bit. But Tear Down the Walls itself is not partnering with the city as much as this is a collaboration of service providers in the cities. Those service providers like Wheeler Mission and others are trying to get the city, hey, draw some attention. Hey, look over here. We need some help with these.
Well, I was talking
poor
about, we have
neighborhoods.
a high volume of abandoned houses, and especially you have 40 to 60 in that area, because I'm familiar with that area.
Yeah.
And I was just, recently we heard a massive tear down of houses earlier this year. You remember that, Pastor Jackson?
Yeah.
And that's one thing that the city could do, is donate those houses to tear down the walls. And I was just wondering, have you ever tried that angle yet to see if you could get those houses that way?
We've entertained the thought. Renew Indy is a nonprofit, and that's now in charge of the city's, what used to be the city's land bank, or the county, technically the county's land bank. And we've purchased at a very low cost some properties off of the county and off of Renew Indy, that new nonprofit that they formed several years ago. And as of this point, they're not ready to donate any properties to us, but we're hoping that they will, and there's still some hopes that might happen in the future. So we're praying for that.
And we'll be praying with you. And Brian, before we run out of time, what are some of the variety of services that you all are providing?
Oh, wow. So in addition to working with the youth, like we said, in the homeless street outreach, the job training, the transitional housing, those lunch and Bible studies that I mentioned, case management, where we just help people, maybe we can't provide the service, but we get them into a rehab because we don't do rehab, or we get them into an emergency shelter because we're not an emergency shelter, and plug them in. Maybe it's directing them to the VA or HVAF because they're a veteran, and there's some services that are available for them. They're helping them fill out applications for whether it's services or a job, developing those resumes. So wide variety of services that we're providing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you've been a great guest today.
Yeah. Keep up the good work, Brian.
Thanks
you.
for all the work that you all are doing to help the homeless in our city.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And thank you all for joining us. We have more to come. Stay with us. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices, and we're joined by Miss Jocelyn Whitticker.
Good
Glad you're here.
afternoon.
Yeah, glad you're here.
Glad to be here.
Happy to have you.
You are running for Auditor of the State of Indiana.
Yes, I am.
And so let's get right to it. Why do you want that job?
Number one, I believe that there are Republicans, Democrats, and Libertarians or independents in this state. I also believe that since we have a state that is biracial, multicultural, and so on, we should give a different point of view. And as it is now, I believe we in this state, Hoosiers, have lost faith in government. And we are questioning because it starts at the top, at the 45th, and it moves down. And I believe I have something to offer.
You want to be a great watchdog, I see.
Yes, I plan to be the watchdog. I plan to be that bulldog because I don't believe there is any form of government in which it should be run by one party, always. That is a very dangerous thing because we begin to believe our publicity and we enjoy our own PR. And it would be hard to tell somebody that they're doing something wrong when all they see is what they do. And a prime example of that is if we write a story or so on, it's kind of hard for us to proofread our story because we know what our intent was, but it may not be what's on that paper.
Right. So you believe in partisanship?
I believe in partisanship. I believe in crossing the line because I will not only be representing Democrats, I'll be representing Republicans, I'll be representing independents, I'll be representing libertarians. Last night I was at our local Tea Party meeting and they have invited me over the years to come in and speak on different financial issues and so on. Did I say everything they wanted to hear? Probably not. And I heard some things I would question with them. But I am realistic enough to know that I live in a community and in a state that has a very different perspective than the way I may see something.
Well, you come with a lot of confidence. Talk to us about the source of all this confidence you have. It's a good thing.
Okay. I grew up in Arkansas, a place called Blackfish Lake between West Memphis and Forest City. We still own the farm. The farm is in trees now, and there's a wetland. There are 2 areas that are wetlands. There are 5 girls and 4 boys. My parents, my father had an 8th grade education, and my mother had 2 masters, and I was on her PhD. She was an educator, and she had been an only child, and my dad had been one of 15 children. And their goal was to see that all 5 of their daughters were educated so they would never be beholding and so on. My father saw that his sisters had been taken advantage by life, by men, and whatever. And he was determined that each of his daughters, his 5 daughters, would be able to take care of themselves. So everything that my 4 brothers did, we could do. My brothers had to learn to cook, clean house, and so on. In turn, I can drive a KC tractor. I have a John Deere because I have an 1/8 of acre of yard. So I run that John Deere myself, and I've done that. That's my relaxation. And we had to work on our farm. We raised hogs, we raised soybean, corn, and okra.
Wow. That's where her enthusiasm
That's where that confidence comes from.
So you still ride a John Deere tractor, huh?
Yes, I do. I have to cut the grass.
Do you wear your blue jeans when you do it?
Of course, and I wear my straw hat.
Okay, all
I
right.
do not plan to have melanoma cancer on my arms.
You want to restore public trust to the government. Tell me how you're going to do that.
Number one, I'm going to listen to you. We have to listen to the people that we serve. Too often in government, we have forgotten how we got there. And we get the big head. That head swells and swells and swells. When we do not listen to the public, we lose touch. Whether it is a position in government, whether it's in a church, whether it is a classroom teacher, or so on. I was a classroom teacher for 15 years and an administrator 19 years. So I had to learn how to deal with people. In each one of those stages in my life, I was a manager. I learned first to manage a classroom. From a classroom, it was the parents of those students and so on. When I started grant writing for our school with Eli Lilly, the middle school initiative, I was in the middle school. I had to learn to deal with not only the parents and so on, I had to learn to deal with corporate America and what that entailed.
Well, that's phenomenal because our climate in central Indiana, in most cases, I don't know if you agree with it, most politicians are just estranged from community.
Well, I think part of the estrangement has come, we have not demanded that they be a part of our communities.
I have no problem with that, but what I'm saying is that you sound like a candidate that if elected, that you don't need them to make the first step.
No, I will never need them.
You're elected, and you know
that.
that's your constituency,
Right?
And you feel that you're going to be close in contact and with that constituency.
I'm a people person.
My point exactly. I think any politician that is doing the job and doing it right, they ought to put their constituency first. Mm-hmm. You said something else that is unusual about the party in which you're running with right now, listening. They have a very difficult problem in listening these days. And you're going to be a fresh wind for that particular party because you say you're going to listen. And I'm going to watch and see if you listen.
I want you to watch
Yes.
me and hold me accountable.
Yes, we will do that.
That is good because the problem that I see, not only in government, it's all over. It's in our churches and so on. It's even in our homes. Instead of our children, I think probably the best commercial on TV right now is the one in which the children are coming into school. And I believe it's Walmart doing it, but Walmart wasn't the originator of this. And I'm not doing a plug for Walmart. But here these adults are.
The high five thing?
The high five thing. And people coming in. That relationship. I was involved in something on the 6th of August. The NAACP, since I was president and so on, I'm running this office, so I've had to step down. But our black barbers cut 150 kids' heads. They were black, they were Caucasian, they were Hispanic. They were kids' hair that was cut. They had a fresh start. Our Walmart distribution gave them a knapsack. It said 2018. In that, we put 2 pencils, an ink pen, and a notebook. And then Taylor gave us items, Taylor University in Upland. IWU gave us items, Marion General Hospital gave, and then some of our churches contributed. We also fed the kids a hot dog, a bag of chips, and a 10-ounce bottle of water. That's to let them know that somebody cares. And they had to wait their turn. Afterwards, I had chaired a minority health meeting because I'm president of minority health within our community. And I went back to the barber shop, still in my finery, and there were about 50 parents still there. I took the broom and I started sweeping up hair. And I'm not saying that to say the big I, but the humble servant. And one said, Miss Whitticker, aren't you running for a state office or is it a federal office? I said, I think you know what I'm running for. I said, do me a favor. I said, get that trash can for me. I said, don't you think our kids deserve to have a clean place? I said, and our barbers don't have time to do that because they have all the kids. We had about 25 kids outside waiting, playing games and so on. And the parents were inside. The kids were playing. How often do you see 25 kids out playing football and basketball and just enjoying themselves? Somebody thought enough of them, and one little boy came up and hugged me. He said, Miss Whitticker, he said, my mom said I needed to thank you. I said, for what? He said, for making sure we had a fresh haircut. I said, this is a fresh start. This is a new year.
Yeah.
He said, were you her principal? I said, yes, I was. Was she bad? I said, I'm not going to discuss that with you. And he said, I want to know. I said, no, she wasn't. And she wasn't a bad student. See, kids, when we show love, kids show up and show out. The same thing with the constituents. I believe that if we, and this is a problem with both parties, we have not been accountable to the people.
My point exactly.
Yeah. And all the best to your candidacy.
Thank you.
You've been a great guest today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. We'll be back with the rundown. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
Co-host Pastor Wayne Moore.
And I'm your executive producer, Faith McKinney.
We've had a great show.
Yeah.
And one of the things in the balance of our time, because we allowed a little extra time for the wonderful guests that we had.
Miss Whitticker.
Yep. And voter registration.
Absolutely.
Make
Voter
sure
registration.
everybody is registered.
Yes, yes, yes. Over 700,000 people in Indiana were purged from the voter registration roll because they moved or didn't respond. 700,000
That's a lot.
voters. That's a lot.
Right.
That's a lot of people. So we have to make sure that everyone is registered. If you're registered, if you think you're registered, make sure. And make sure you know where you're going to vote. And so what I want to do is everywhere people gather, grocery stores, churches, everywhere, just make sure people are registered to vote and have the option and have the availability to fill out their voter registration forms.
Because you can't complain if you don't vote.
And that's something that's
Absolutely.
on your heart, too, of course.
Oh, man. My church, if I
Certainly
might
not your first time around.
No, my church has registered over 400 people in the last 4 to 5 years.
Wow.
And we do voter registration at least twice to 3 times a year. Carmen Holland and one of my newly appointed deacons, Brother Garrett, works on it every Sunday to make sure that people are getting registered to vote. We don't pitch for any candidate. We just want people to register,
Absolutely.
to exercise their vote, because their vote makes a difference. And if we don't start doing that, what we're feeling in our society now might be 7 times worse in the next few years.
Yeah, because you'll have folks choosing people for us.
Yes,
Yeah,
and we can't do
especially our
that.
judges.
And we need these young people, millennials, to vote.
Yes.
They need to get registered as well. They don't realize how much they can turn the tide
Yeah.
in an election.
Thanks for voting for us and watching us today.
Right.
We appreciate you, and we'll see you this time next time.